So this week, we read from Torah, the portion called Chaye Sarah, which means the life of Sarah. Can anyone tell me the first thing that happens in this Torah portion? Sarah dies. Correct. In verse 1 of this Torah portion, we learn that Sarah lived 127 years, and in verse 2, she dies. And Abraham mourns her and ultimately buries her. Now, if you heard my Yom Kippur sermon, or if you've attended or are planning to attend one of our Death Over Dinner programs, it is possible, I fear, that you've started to think of me as the death rabbi. It's true, I care a lot about this topic, but this is the perfect opportunity to flip this narrative on its head. Over and over and over again, our tradition teaches us that though life is short, our legacy and our impact extend far beyond our physical lifetimes. Every Jewish conversation about death is, at its core, a conversation about life. This week's Torah portion is the perfect example of what I mean. After Abraham buries Sarah and mourns her, he decides it's time for their son Isaac to get married. He sends a servant to find a partner for Isaac, and the servant chooses a woman he meets at a well named Rebecca. Rebecca isn't chosen for her great beauty or her great wealth. She's chosen because when the servant stopped so his camels could drink, Rebecca offered to draw the water up for them. She is chosen for her kindness. Isaac and Rebecca are married, and then at the end of the portion, Abraham gets remarried to a woman named Keturah. They have many children together, but we are told specifically that Abraham's inheritance will only go to Isaac. And then, at age 175, Abraham too dies. To the untrained ear, this may sound just like the continuation of the family's life after Sarah dies, but there's something deeper going on. Why might it be that Abraham's first act after mourning Sarah is to find a partner for their son? I believe it's because Abraham knew what it was to have a partner and wanted the same for Isaac. And Isaac, who had had what some would call quite a traumatic upbringing, his half-brother Ishmael was sent away, he was brought up the mountain to be sacrificed. He needed something specific in a partner. He needed kindness and care, which is exactly how Rebecca is described. We read that Isaac brought Rebecca into the tent of his mother Sarah. He took Rebecca and she became his wife, and he loved her. Thus did Isaac take comfort after the death of his mother. This is the first time that we hear about love between spouses in the Hebrew Bible. At this extremely painful time in Isaac's life, when he has lost the love of his mother, he finds love with Rebecca. Also, we are assured at the end of this portion that the covenant Abraham made with God will continue through Isaac and Rebecca, not with Abraham's other children, which Sarah specifically demanded in last week's Torah portion. So, this isn't really about Sarah's life on earth, and it's not about her death. This portion is about her legacy. Sarah's legacy of love and care for her family, and specifically for her son Isaac, continues after her death. Isaac gets married in her tent. He finds a new source of love and compassion, and he will carry on his father's legacy. This whole portion is inspired by Sarah's influence and her wishes. We know it can work the same for us today. When someone dies, we take the time we need to bury them and to mourn, just like Abraham does. But Judaism doesn't view death as a complete ending, totally final. Our experience teaches us that our loved ones can continue to inspire us and influence our lives long after their deaths. Whether we're conscious of it or not, the way we see the world, the causes we choose to support, the little phrases we say, All of it can be impacted by the previous generations in our family. We learn the same lesson from Mourner's Kaddish. One might reasonably assume that the words of this prayer we say when someone dies are specifically focused on death, but the opposite is true. This is a prayer which glorifies and exalts God and our world which God created. It tells us that God is beyond any praise that we could offer, beyond any words we can actually say. In reality, the Mourner's Kaddish is a prayer of gratitude to God and a prayer of peace. Does knowing that change the way you feel about these words, which have become rote for so many of us? I hope it does. Now, neither I nor the prayer is suggesting that we be grateful when someone has died. But I do think there's deep meaning and value in being appreciative of the life someone lived and grateful for the legacy they left with us. This is something all of us might confront next week. Our holidays lift up memories of people who no longer sit around the dinner table. I will never forget the first Thanksgiving we celebrated almost a full year after my great-grandmother died. My Bubby was the human embodiment of the word mensch. She was the kindest, most gentle soul, and she was a model of perseverance and joy through struggle. Another thing that was true about my Bubby, the older she got, the slower she ate. I am convinced that my Bubby was the world's slowest eater, and we were expected to stay at the table until she had finished eating. She died in December of 2012 at the age of 100. And the next Thanksgiving, I looked at my cousins in wonder as we realized how much we missed her and how fast the meal was. It was the definition of the word bittersweet. Many of us have moments like this around Thanksgiving or Passover or any of our other gatherings. We feel the ripples of those who are no longer there, whose chairs are empty. But those chairs around the table aren't really empty. They are full of our loved ones' legacies that we continue to carry. The fact is, life is short, but our impact goes on and on. Our legacy remains. So whenever we confront death, we have to ask, how will my loved one continue to be with me? How do I want to live my life while I'm still here? How do I want to be remembered? May we have the courage to ask these questions and seek their answers. May our gatherings with loved ones in the coming week be sweet, and may our food be absolutely delicious. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.